Hey everybody, this is Tony, and I'm here today with a special guest, none other than the legendary, supreme Miss Mary Wilson. How you doing today?
Hello, I'm good. I'm good. I'm great.
All right, I'm glad to hear that. Of course, Miss Wilson, the world knows you as one of the great Supremes. The Supremes, of course, is one of the biggest girl groups of all time, and they pretty much ruled the world in the '60s. Um, how does it feel to still be here after all these years to be able to have a legacy that great?
hmm well, I'm happy. I'm happy because, as you said, to still be here at the age of 76 and have had a career spanning over 50 years,
Yes.
and have people still listen to your music, still, receive loads of letters and cards and gifts. I mean, people just, they've been so giving and everything. It feels great, because I think that what we did at Motown Records, what Motown Records did with so many other artists, um, touching the world with our music, and there was so many talented people there. Tony, I mean, the writers, the producers. I was on yesterday with a virtual, and it was uh, for Ohio. Um, it was for Rider University. That's what it was.
Okay. Okay.
And so a lot of Motown alumni were on it. Claudette Robinson was there, Jamie Bradford, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful thing to be a part of. So, yeah. So people are still remembering us and all those kind of things. I'm really happy about it. Yes.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Now, of course, you're not only just a singer or just a supreme. Of course, you're an author, best-selling author at that. Let me correct that. An activist, a mother, a grandmother now, and I think a great grandmother as well.
Yes, I have one. Mhm. And actually, my great grandchild is my adopted son's daughter,
Okay.
granddaughter. Yeah, and so I think she just turned 9, and
Oh, wow.
that's kind of wonderful. Yes.
Yes, that is amazing to see your legacy just really grow out that way.
Yeah.
I know that your children are very special to you. In the way that you talked about them all throughout their lives. Matter of fact, uh, so that's why I made sure to mention them. Um, Now, of course, the Supremes consisted in the beginning of three women, which were yourself, Florence Ballard, the late Florence Ballard, and Miss Diana Ross. Um, Eventually, Diana Ross left, and Jean Terrell stepped in her place. And then subsequently, we had Linda Lawrence, Sherry Payne, Cindy Birdsong, of course, and who am I missing? Suze Green.
Yes.
Yep, that all stepped in later. So, what I want to know from you is, what was your favorite lineup of the Supremes?
Well, because I was in the for the entire time,
Right.
I love the entire time, and I love all the ladies because I actually was responsible for bringing in the other ladies other than Jean Terrell because Barry Gordy found Jean Terrell. But
Right.
yeah, so it was. What was your question? There's so many questions
No,
here.
it's okay. What
What
was your favorite
my
lineup?
favorite lineup? Yeah. So obviously for me, the three of us are always going to be my favorites, and I say
Okay.
that because we were the ones who started this legacy. You know what I mean? It was our
Yeah.
dream to want to become not so much famous because black people in those days we just wanted to have fun and live and make our lives good and our families' lives good. So
Right.
becoming famous is something for the new generation, you know what I mean, after the
Yeah.
60s. Uh, uh, but back then, black people were not even, it's almost like what's happening now with the voting thing, we couldn't
Yeah.
even so, there were so many more important things that we wanted to achieve than becoming famous. That was not even in our mindsets. I mean, not in mine anyway. Let's put it that way. So,
Right.
when it was four of us, when the four of us started, I loved us because we were the ones who dared to dream, to make those dreams come true at a time when I've always said it was an impossible dream for black people to want to be rich and famous and powerful and all those kind of things.
Right.
Um, that was in future hopes. But at that point, for three little black girls who dared to dream, it was a wonderful opportunity when we went to Motown, and they helped us make our dreams come true. So for
Yeah.
me, it would be the four of us. I say the four because we were four at the very beginning, but it
Right.
was the initial group of girls that would be my favorites. And then, of course, in the '70s, it was a new group when Jean Terrell came in and Cindy Birdsong was that, and I love that group.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no group could ever take the place of the three of us, because it was so much more than just singing. You know what I mean? It was about
Yeah. Yeah.
being young and daring to do things and doing it together. We were friends, all that. That's different. Later on, the business, and maintaining it, keeping it going after all those years, the '70s were fine. In fact, I did that. I continued the group going myself because I didn't want it to end. I thought it was going to go on forever. So I kept trying to find the right girls, ladies, I should say, who would have my same dream. But I think and they were all talented. Sherry, Cindy, Linda, Suzette. They were all very talented. It had
Yeah.
nothing to do with not being talented. It was just that things had changed. The world had changed. It's like now. The '70s were different from the '60s. So,
Yeah.
pretty soon I realized that in 1977, okay, I'm going to have to go out on my own and start my own daring to dream.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what I did. But yeah, I think the first group was definitely I won't say favorite because that would be negating, what we did in the '70s. We did some wonderful things. In fact, I remember when Sherry joined the group and I brought Cindy back in, we went
Hmm.
to South Africa. And that was a major thing that a lot of people are not aware of. We went to South Africa when apartheid was still it was still huge over there.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
And we had to kind of, I forget, I gotta ask my ex-husband what if we went on there as whites or whatever. You couldn't be what you really were. So I'm going to ask him what we really went over there for. But that was quite phenomenal for me to decide to want to go over there, and I did because I wanted to see how could people be so cruel in that time, and whatever. Because we had here in America already kind of moved forward in terms of being black is beautiful and those kind of things, and so I wanted to go there and not just hear what was on the news about black people there,
Right. Right.
Africans. And that's why I decided to go, and it was my decision to want to go to do it. But we did get a lot of flack, from the various, NAACP and the, all kind of people, political people. They didn't want us to go over there because of what they were trying to do in their way politically.
Right. Right.
And I said, sometimes, as people, you just got to kind of step forward. So I guess in a way, I was pretty much like what the Black Lives Matter people are doing now. Stepping
Yeah. Yeah.
we need to do something. We can't wait for everyone else to do this for us. And so that's the reason why.
Exactly.
And I did get a lot of flack from that. I really did.
Mm. Yeah, and I mean, I don't think people really realize, how serious things were in the '60s, especially for like you said, being black during that time. I mean, if you think '68 was when Dr. King was killed, and you all were at the height of your career at that point. And I don't think people really understand sometimes until you really break things down and say, no, I really went through this.
Yeah.
Even when you all went on the Motown review tours, and happen to use the different restrooms and the colors and whites and things like that. So I
Okay.
think it's important for people to really hear those kind of things because sometimes they think you're exempt.
Well, and also, you think it was a long time ago. But if you really think about that, it was not that long ago because it was in my lifetime.
Yeah,
We grew up in Detroit, Michigan. We being Florence, Diana, and I grew up in Detroit. But my roots were in Mississippi. And
right,
so, my family was one of the families that migrated from Mississippi up north to get better jobs and things like that. So, we knew about the white water fountain. You couldn't drink out of a water fountain in the South if it says for whites only. You have to drink it
Hmm.
as for colored. So I mean, and then I would always visit. Our family would always visit our grandma and grandfathers and our cousins there. And so, my cousin Josephine would always tell me, now, Mary, I know you guys are from up north and you're so uppity, but don't be coming down here bringing all that stuff here, because when you leave, we'll still be here. And these people will hang us.
Mm.
We have to stay in our place. So don't you be bringing that up north stuff,
Right, right.
down south. So, I knew about all that. And even though in Detroit, in the north, there was segregation, but we all lived in our own neighborhoods. Whites lived in theirs, black lived in
Yeah.
theirs, Chinese lived in there, and all that kind of stuff. But we still would go into the city. We'd go in and we'd mingle with everyone. So we didn't have the
Yeah.
same type of environment that they had in the South, but it was still there. And if you did the wrong thing, I remember going into department stores to buy things, and they would follow me all over the store because they thought I was going to be
Mm.
stealing something. So, we grew up with that. And that's that's when we started dreaming about becoming recording artists, because, it was something to do that was different from what we have been used to doing, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, it was fun. It was great. It's like, wow, we're exploring in new waters here,
Exactly, exactly. And you definitely did, and of course with 12 number one singles, million selling albums. I mean, I don't think anybody could have topped the Supremes in their prime, honestly. And then you even rivaled the Beatles at one point, which was one of the biggest groups in the world at one point. So you all really made a difference. And I think that's why a lot of people, took on to the image that you guys had put out, because what you were doing were different. Of
Mhm.
course, you had girl groups out before, and you had even Motown girl groups, and you had, like Sherelle's, the Chantels, and different groups before, but you guys really topped the pinnacle for a lot of people. So,
And I do want to bring something up about that, because sometimes I feel really bad. I shouldn't say bad, but I mean it bothers me because there were so many great groups out there,
yes,
and they were popular too. But see,
yes,
I think what made us different was the time frame. Some of the wonderful groups that I loved that inspired me, Sherelle's and Chantel's and the Toys and all those different groups like that. I mean, I loved them.
oh
Uh,
yeah,
but in the 60s, you see, the advent of television came along,
hmm,
and that was a difference, because then we were like broadcast on all these TV shows and people could see us, whereas before they didn't have that. So
right,
therefore, the popularity was there because DJs played the records and we all were inspired by them, and they were great. I mean, my favorite group to this day is still the Shirelles. I mean, still the Shirelles.
mm,
And of course, the Chantels they opened the door for me. And maybe that was like, ooh, I remember that one.
that's
And then
right,
in the 60s, you see, television came along, and then rock and roll still really made a big splash uh, in movies and things like that. So that's kind of why I think we became very much more popular because of that, because of TV. Then you had the Ed Sullivan shows, and we were on there every Sunday.
right,
I think, in fact, Universal just released a whole new DVD
yes, yes,
of Supremes on Ed Sullivan's show. We were on the Sammy Davis show, we were on the Dean Martin, we were on the Flip Wilson show, we were on
yep,
every major TV show. So that really made us, sort of up there. Whereas some in the 50s, television still had not allowed a lot of black people on TV.
right.
So the time changed. And in fact, that reminds me of a song. Funny how time changes things. It's true. This
That's
is
right. That's right.
yeah, I gotta pull that one out. But anyway, yeah. So it was TV. TV really helped us. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, it was Motown, first of all.
Right, right.
It was Motown, and Hollow Doja Hollow and Berry Gordy, all that. The Motown sound, that was what got us out there. But in terms of like now with the social media and the internet, you know, that has changed the world. So back in the
Yes.
60s, TV was what was a new technical thing that changed the world, actually.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people even wondered, you know, even when it come to like Martha Reeves and the Vandellas and, you know, the Marvelettes and the different groups at Motown, why they didn't make it bigger. But I think too, even if you remember, like with Please Mr. Postman, that didn't even have a picture on the album cover. That had the mailbox with the, you know, the spider web. So that was part of it. And then too, I think Barry Gordy saw something special in the three of you that he really pushed, because by the time that you all had a hit record, I think Martha Reeves and the Vandellas were already out by that time, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, you know,
But
one thing, we were the last few people, artists, to get a hit record, because obviously the Miracles were number one in terms of getting a hit record, the first one. Please Mr. Postman, the Marvelettes was second. And then
right,
you had people before then, they had Mary Wells, who was
yes, of course,
a major star, okay? She
yes,
was major. But again, I think the time had a lot to do with it in terms of TV and their exposure. So people
hmm
were really big on records and on the radio. You know,
yeah,
huge, huge. But it was the TV, I think, that put us out front of
yeah.
that. So I have to give, you know, this new technology and what's happening now. Even though I don't know how to operate these Zooms and this, I mean, I got the first Zoom that I was able to get onto, because
Oh wow,
usually my daughter and my PR people, they set it up, and she's in LA and they're in LA and I'm here in Vegas. So they usually get it hooked up, and all they have to do is click in there. So today I was so late because of Jerry Blavitt. He's a wonderful guy. We're doing a cruise coming up that was canceled this year. So he
okay,
did a virtual to sort of, you know, say what's going to happen this coming year when it opens up. So he went on and on and on. But he was one of those DJs who early on started playing Supreme's records and Motown records. And I just adore him, because he is definitely one of those DJs from the old school
right,
who
right.
he could play whatever he wanted to play. You know, he wasn't dictated to by the radio company or those kind of people. He was one of those wonderful guys. He could make or break a record. So, you know, he went over and I kept on him. I said, okay, Jerry, come on. I got to talk to Tony, hurry up. So when we finally got on, I just clicked in here and I kind of said, oh, I did it. So
That's all right.
It's a new technology, but I'm learning it. And they have, I should talk about this new technology, because I have a new, what do you call it? A radio, YouTube channel, Mary Wilson
Okay,
YouTube channel. I got a new one. And
all right.
so I'm working on that, and it should be out pretty soon, like next week, I'm hoping. I'm going to wait until after the election, you know, because that's such a big
Yeah, it's a
right
lot.
now. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had it out. But
Exactly.
I was told by the creators who are helping me put this together, I already have 300 subscribers. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
like, yeah, I mean, we haven't gotten it out yet. And it's like, oh, cool. So
Yeah.
I've learned a lot of this technology to learn how to upload things, to send it to the people who are putting it up for me and all that, which I don't know how to do. But I got all kind of, I got VHS tapes, I have DVD tapes over there, everything, all these old things that we did. But now I got to get someone here in Vegas to come over and help me to upload them on, because I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but it's a learning process. I understand, especially because you know that wasn't Zoom wasn't even my thing, to be honest with you. And I know technology, but this is kind of sort of new for me too. So
Yeah.
I mean, I understand.
Skype was there. Wasn't Skype before Zoom?
Yeah, that's what I was using before. So
Yeah.
when Zoom came along, I was like, okay, how do you do this?
Yeah.
So I get it. I get it. But I want to talk about the 70s Supremes just for a little bit. I know we love the original.
I mean, when I say that, I mean, I was in there the entire time, so I love them all. I love them.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course.
So yeah.
I think this picture is so is very telling, and it's a beautiful picture. I love this picture right here.
It should have been an album cover. It should have been the album cover of Stone Love, and
yes,
go for it. I was so pissed, and that's when I really took over the group. You know, having
right.
managing the group because I was like, that was such a bad mistake. And with the time of everything happening and that was going on here, it would have been a great new sort of look for the Supremes, that natural thing and whole thing.
Right.
They wouldn't go for it. New ways, but new love stays. I was like pissed. That was one time I was pissed coming up to them as well. You know, the business, what was going on in the business, things like
Yeah.
the individual was kind of like just forgotten. So I said, no. The three of us dared to dream so much. I got to make sure that this continues on in the right way.
Yeah. And speaking of that, you documented a lot of that stuff as I just showed the picture in your book. So I wanted to show you. I got both Supreme Faith and that's Dreamgirl.
You know what? This is the Supreme Faith is my favorite, and I'll tell you why it's my favorite. First, with Dreamgirl is great because it's a history, you know, and I really love that. But I mean, this is my Supreme Faith was my favorite because it was about me, and so I had a chance to talk about my life. So that's why it's one of my favorites. And it didn't sell as well because that was when the war was the war was going on. So I couldn't do all the PR on TV like I had done with Dreamgirl. So the record sale was not really. I mean, the book sales were not that great, but still is my favorite.
I know. I could tell. But I think both of them are great because it's so interesting to read about this history because we see only what is put out on TV or put out on record or, you know, the little interviews that you guys were doing.
The marketing. You see the marketing.
Right.
Yes.
So we never seen the background stuff that was actually happening where you say, hey, I was pissed off because of this. This didn't happen the way that it should have happened. Or, you know, this person was ready to leave or, you know, I had to hurry up and find a replacement because I'm in a bind because of this situation or, you know, we don't see all that stuff. So you detailing it in the book, it's like, wow, she really went through all this stuff. So I think it was very telling. I think it was very interesting to read and just to learn more about you as well. And it showed your strength, I have to tell you. It really showed the strength and the endurance that you had to go through that stuff. Even from the you know, Jean Terrell years or going on down to the Susan and Sherry years. And even when you know, detailed about your ex-husband and the different situations you guys went through. And it was just a lot. So I definitely applaud your efforts. And although I think that you might have not believed in yourself as much in the early years, I think that showed who you really was and what you were really made of, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's amazing because I think what helped me throughout my life is that people, oh my God, you had such a sad life. I'm like, I didn't have a sad life. I was having fun. In fact, that's what Jerry Blaff and I were just talking about. He says, you know, Mary, he says, you just always seem like you're enjoying yourself. I said, because I am. You know, I put myself through a lot of different things because I'll give you a story that my one of my sons, not the one who passed, but my son Pedro, who's still alive, he said to me one time when I was going through some horrible stuff, and he says, "Mommy," he says, "you know, you're smiling, you're laughing now, but a minute ago you were crying." And, and he was serious too, right? And I said, well, maybe because Mommy is a happy person, but I can't be unhappy about things that happen. You know, I'm unhappy about that, but it doesn't make me an unhappy person. It makes me unhappy about that situation. So I've been able throughout my life to have that as the string that keeps me going no matter what was happening. And let me tell you, sometimes I've been sad, I've been hurt, and I've been kicked, and I've been all those things, but I'm always able to get back up and you know, find the, and like even now with this pandemic, I find a little silver lining in it. And I have, because I'm here in Vegas all by myself in my house, and my family is in LA, and you know, I miss them terribly, my grandchildren.
Of course.
But my silver lining is that I've been able to go through all of my files and I had boxes, just like I had boxes of the gowns.
Yes.
Boxes of files and boxes of pictures and boxes of this. So all this year I've been going through this by myself and pulling things out and making, you know, pulling all this. That's how I was able to write the book. because I had all this stuff, had pulled all this stuff out, and so now I can, go and put my hands on that, put my hands on that. So the
Right.
silver lining for me is that I've been able to be home and not travel so much. Because when I traveled, all these 50 years, you can't do home things a lot. You have to have other people do them, but it's nothing like putting your hands on things yourself. So that's my silver
Exactly.
lining. Yeah.
Exactly. That's true.
I still need an assistant, honey. I'm not gonna do this forever, okay? I need. If anybody here in Vegas, let me know because I sure need to.
Okay. If I definitely hear someone, I will.
Yeah.
But yes, of course. But but like I was just saying, I just think that's awesome that you were able to document that in your lifetime and be able to tell your own story, because it's nothing like telling your own story, because people can make up things about you and say,
Mhm.
you know, she said this or she meant this, and meanwhile, it's really not that.
Not that. Yeah, well,
But
I do hate to interrupt you on that, but let me add to
go
that
ahead.
because when a lot of things came up when Black people were starting to move forward and make this what come to where we are now.
Hmm.
I heard, I think it was, who was it? It was a great poet, Black poet. She says, we Black people need to write our own stories.
Yeah.
And so I said to myself, I have written my story, and I was one of the first too. I'll say this, one of the first uh, artists to write their own stories, and I'm very
Yes.
proud of that. You know.
Yes.
Hmm.
It is something to be proud of, because, like I said, you leave something for people to say, this is what she really, felt. This is how she really meant it. This is what was going on in her life. And you don't leave that room for people to just make up things on their own. So I think that's awesome. But
Okay.
as far as the 70s Supreme,
Yes.
of course, you guys had some great songs, like Stone Love, Floor Joy, Nathan
Ladder to
Jones.
the roof. Yes.
That's right. So, of course, a lot of that stuff got overlooked later on down the line. I think Stone Love did pretty well, but I remember you saying it didn't get played on some radio stations because they thought it was about drugs or something like that, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, but those were great records. And even going down the line from, the later album,
Mhm.
even with Sherry and Suze with "You Are the Heart of Me" and "Don't Let My Teardrops Bother You." I love those songs because they really show the essence of your voice.
Mhm.
Supreme songs, early Supreme songs don't always um, fit your style,
My style.
but
Yes.
those
Hmm.
songs really suit your voice, and they really, let you shine. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Um, but I know that must have bothered you at some point to have all those great records, and then it's like virtually nobody hears it.
Yeah. Well, well, I think that was one of the things that happened in the '70s, and why maybe Gene left or Linda left because, they just weren't. Motown wasn't really interested in what we were doing.
Yeah.
So, we lost some ladies because of that, and I understood that. But a couple of them wanted me to leave with them, and I'm like, no, I'm not leaving. This is my legacy. I'm not leaving. But I got a lot of flack from people who said, Mary Wilson, she's just a piece of fluff. Doesn't fight for this. She doesn't do this. She doesn't do anything. But I was fighting in my own way, you
Yeah.
know. And that was, I knew that there was so much that I could not do against the powers that be. I understand that. I understood that because I grew up in a household when my aunt raised me, and she was a very strict lady, beautiful
Hmm.
lady. But she was very strict. And I realized at the age of, let me see, I think I went to live with them when I was 4 or 5. I
Okay.
realized that, I couldn't fight them at that age.
Hmm.
And so that's when I learned you cannot fight the powers that be unless you got the right tools. And I know I didn't have them. I didn't know their rules and their regulations. And so I had to wait. But I wasn't just waiting. I was looking at everything that was going on. And as I said, as I've always said, I finally realized in my power is that I have patience. And I
Right.
also have wisdom to know when I can. That great saying, help me to know what I can change, what I cannot change, and all that. I think
Yep.
that's something I've always, I didn't say that correctly. uh, just came off the top of my head, but I think that that's what I've always had in my soul is
Yes.
to know when I could do certain things and when I can't. And so, I mean, you can't just because someone else is wrong, you can't just jump up and start fighting them. It can hurt you. And so I
Yeah.
learned that very early in life, and that's what saved me. I think just having that little wisdom there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think
But I want to say one thing. It hurt me when
sure.
people said that I didn't have any guts. And there was one great writer I shouldn't say great, black guy who wrote a lot of books about music and people, and he would always say, well, Mary Wilson, she's just a piece of fluff. She doesn't do anything. She should be like Flo, fights. Well, I couldn't fight against that. I couldn't.
Yeah.
It hurt me though. They said that about me because I wasn't that soft. I've never been soft. That's how I appear to be soft, and I have this
Right.
forever. I am not a soft person at all.
Oh, I believe it. Trust me. What? No matter what they believe, I believe you.
Thanks, Tony. Okay.
But when you said, I think back to the moment where you said in the book, when Florence and her mother came.
Sorry.
Sure.
I think I'm out in Vegas.
Of course, you got to stay hydrated. I'm not worried. But I think back to the moment where you said in the Dreamgirl, I believe it was, where you all had the meeting with Florence and her mother and Berry Gordy, and you said her mother basically looked over at you like for help, basically like, Mary, tell them, she wants to stay,
Yeah.
talk up for her, and you told her basically, hey, Florence, wants to go. And I think a lot of people in that moment didn't realize the significance of it because I don't think they realized the position that you were in fact, because I have to save my job, but I also want to save you too. So it was like a double-edged sword, and I don't think you got enough credit for what you.
Yeah. And what I was saying to her mom was, I mean, I want Flo to stay. I do.
Right.
Doesn't seem like she wants to stay because she's not fighting for it. And the way to fight for it is to do what she needs to do now. Not
right.
certain things that not behave the way she's behaving. But see, that's what Florence was. See, if you were wrong, Florence gonna fight your butt. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's what I was trying to say. If Florence, I want her to stay, but she doesn't seem like she wants to stay because she won't bend a little bit. Sometimes you do have to bend a little bit.
Yeah.
You gotta fight. I mean, hey, sometimes you do, but you got to do it at the right time, I think, to benefit yourself. And
of
so
course.
I was caught in the middle, and it hurt me. Are you kidding? It hurt me that I couldn't stand up for Flo because I was like the one who took care of her for years. People didn't even know that. I mean, I actually took care of her. I'm talking, before, after the show, all that stuff. I was the one who took care of her, but I couldn't do any more unless Florence herself really kind of decided, okay, I'll let me get some help. You know what I mean? Maybe
right.
That's what I'm trying to say in some kind of way. And I don't think that her parents really helped her by not getting her help. But then we were all, from the country. You know what I mean? So we didn't have answers. My mother, thank God, was just a generally wise person, but she didn't have any intellect in terms of knowing the right things to do, but she did have an intuitive kind of intellect that help her to do the right thing. And I think that maybe that's where I got mine from.
Yeah.
Know when to move and when not to move, or to say
right.
So it was very difficult. I mean, it was hard for Flo because she had gone through a lot. She really had. She suffered, but she didn't get any help.
Yeah, and it's dangerous.
Helping. What I was doing wasn't helping. I was just there with her, but she needed professional help. Like these women today, and men and young boys who've been abused in life, now they can get help. But
yes.
And people didn't talk about it, so they couldn't get the help they needed.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't think people understand the effects of things like that as far as, talking about Florence's rape when she was a young girl. I don't think people understand the effects of that kind of thing carrying over to now you become a successful star, and then now you're in a frustrated situation.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they quite get those kind of things, and it leads you to, when you don't get help, like you said, it leads you to want to say, you know what, to hey with this,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know how to deal with what's going on the inside.
Inside, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what people do. They start drinking, they start to do drugs and all those kind of things. That's what they to
Right.
numb the pain. So that was what Florence was going through. And I never would have said anything while Florence was alive because that would have hurt her. She never would have wanted anyone to know that. But
Yes.
once she wasn't here, I felt I needed to tell people so that they could understand why she acted the way she did.
Yeah.
People there at the company say, "Oh well, you know, she just drank all the time. She's there." You know, it's like, well, they didn't know the pain that she was going through, and it hurt
Right.
me, you know, when they would say things like that. And
Yeah. Of course.
they still do. I mean, there are a couple of very big people at Motown who still think the same thing. You know,
Yeah.
they won't give her a break at all.
But it's good that she has somebody or people, not somebody, that still know the true essence of who she was because you were actually friends and around her, and you got to know who she really was beyond what we just saw as Florence Ballard, the Supreme. You got to know the person, you know. So I think that's something that's also worthy to be held near your heart.
And that's the reason why I want to get this stamp for her too.
Yes, I want to talk about that too. Talk a little bit about that. Oh wow, that looks beautiful.
That's what I'm going for. I'm trying to
That
get
looks
it there
beautiful.
because that's a better light. My lighting for some reason is very strange today. Anyway, yeah. So I have been trying to, you know, when we put her in the grave there, I said, Florence, I'm going to take care of it.
Right.
But if people have said, well, what do you mean by that? I said, well, I just felt in my heart that she had been like so many other people. I mean, there are many people in this life, especially Black people and Black people, all kind of people who life is just giving them the what you say, the bad end of the stick. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Yeah.
That's kind of what happened to Flo. It wasn't her fault. She got that, and she just didn't get the help she needed to help herself to come up. Because Florence was a strong person, and you know, she could have. I think had that not happened, she would have been able to come through that had that not happened to her. But
Yeah.
you know, it's I forgot what I was saying. But anyway. The stamp is so. When I said that, it was one of those things where I said I need to do something to put her where she needs to be. I mean,
Yes.
you know, it was her dream that the group came together. It was her dream, and somehow or another, something needs to be done for her. You know, so for people to give her that thing as opposed to be known as a drunk. You know.
Right. Right.
So that's kind of what I meant when I say I'll take care of it. I'll do something. I don't know what it is. So that's why I always talk about it. People say, "What about you? Why don't you talk about Diane?" I said, "Well, Diane has her own voice.
Right.
I don't have to talk for Diane. If this was Diane, I'd be doing the same thing for her."
Yes.
But Florence is not here, and she couldn't, you know, stand up for herself because I know Florence would have stood up for herself. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I had to. And see, I don't even think Florence knew I could do all of this. You know, she thought I
Yeah.
was too. So, oh, Mary, she's not going to do it. She can, you know, because
Yeah.
people think that. But I mean, I have a soft manner about me, and but it's. In fact, I look at me and Diane the same. I think that Diane on the inside is soft. On the outside she's strong, but on the inside she's soft, and I think that I'm pretty much the same kind of way. You know, I'm kind of on the inside. I'm very strong.
Oh yeah.
Soft. So I think that, you know, you do what you use what you have in your life to use to be who you are.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it'll be great to have that postage stamp. I can't even get that out. Uh, done for her because people. I don't think just like you said, she didn't get her just due. And like a lot of the artists, well, I won't say a lot of them. Some of the artists at Motown, including people like Mary Wells and different people like that. So I think that would be awesome just to have. And it's crazy that a lot of people still love Florence as if the Supremes are big right now today.
That's what I'm saying. That people love her. I mean, it has nothing to do with anything else. People love Flo. So
Yes.
that's my whole point. Is that you don't have to be the main person for people to love you. I mean, what we the three of us represented. People love Diane. They love me, and they love Flo. For me, Flo is just not here to stand up for herself.
Right.
So that's
Right.
what I do.
Yeah. But thank you for standing up, and standing in the gap for her. Of course, we know that once Florence left, like I said, Cindy stepped in her spot. I know that had to be a kind of weird position for you to try to help groom Cindy to now be in your friend's spot. Uh, but the show had to go on, of course, because who was going to do it? So I know that must have been awkward for you. But Cindy did go ahead and she pretty much blended in, and a lot of people said she resembled Florence, and in fact acted like Florence in some ways. Um,
Yeah,
Cindy,
they were very much alike in many ways. But Cindy is one of those persons that you have to love. She was just a lovable human being.
yes,
She
yes,
really was. So it was difficult for me because it would have been better had she not been a lovable human being. But she is such just a nice human being. But it was very hard because
yes,
I kind of felt, not that I was betraying Florence, but it was just not an easy um, person to be me at that time. It really wasn't. But I did what I had to do because I knew I had to do it. And thank God for Cindy. She was a perfect person to take Florence's place. But I totally just really, my heart was so much with Florence during that time.
yes, of course. And I really wanted to mention Cindy as well because sometimes people kind of forget about Cindy, and sometimes so I just wanted to mention her as well. And of course Cindy really stepped in a lot of times, and not only that time, she stepped in later on down the line. Once she left to go
Well,
and have her.
I always ask her because I knew
Okay.
she loved being a performer. She loved being out there. And she was always obliging. Every time I would ask her to come and step in, she was always there and
Yes.
never missed a step. So she's just a beautiful person. So it was really,
Yeah.
uh,
I know that she was in recent years going through some health challenges. Have you heard any word of how she's doing lately?
I've got, with this pandemic is so difficult. And that's
Mm.
been one thing that it's been on my mind. And a couple of us have wanted to, reach out to her, but it's like hard. You can't travel, you can't do anything.
Yes. Yes.
That's on my to-do list, my Trello list to do. Um, right now, I'm trying to take care of myself.
Yes.
so, so yeah, but it's something that I must do and will do soon. Yes.
Okay, okay, awesome. But yeah, Cindy is just a wonderful person, though. But that's why I wanted to mention her.
Okay.
And I think she made it, like you said, unrealistic to not like her because of her demeanor and her spirit. It seems like she was just a very sweet person all the time.
Mhm.
I'm sure she probably got upset at some point, but she probably didn't show it.
No, she never got too much. No, Cindy was pretty much like me in terms of being a pretty even. What you saw was I mean, with
Yeah.
maybe certain situations, yeah, I'm sure, because she was in an interracial marriage, and I'm
Yes.
sure that a lot of times that kind of angered her too because of what people would say. But she pretty well was happy,
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was ironic, and please forgive me if this sounds wrong,
It's
but
okay.
I think it was a little ironic, and I've seen other people say that it seemed like Cindy took Florence's place, and it almost looked like she ended up in Florence's place in real life, just because I remember seeing Cindy do an interview on one of the gospel stations online,
Mhm.
and she said how she had lost everything pretty much at one point during I think the 80s maybe or somewhere around the 90s. And we know that's something that Florence struggled with as well before she passed. But I just thought that was ironic.
Well, anytime you are in a position of being a star or a political person that's out front, and then you have to succumb to being just a normal, everyday kind of person, it's
Hmm.
it's difficult. It is difficult, and if you're not financially in the position to handle that, it can really be devastating. And that's kind of
Yeah.
what happened to both Cindy and Florence. If you got to go in to get just a regular job, you don't have that same sort of inflow of money. So yeah, it can be difficult. Um, and yeah, I guess you could say that kind of happened to Cindy. She did become a minister, and she was very
Yes.
happy about that. So right now, I would say, just so that people know, I think that she really is, because she was a little older than we were. She was
Right. Right.
definitely. She probably is closer to 80, and we were like, we're Diana and I like 76 or so. So
Right.
it's hard. It can be hard if you don't get the financial kind of thing that you are accustomed to, and trying to make life work and still be happy. It
Yeah.
can be very devastating to a person. So I can understand that. So it's up to me to reach out to Cindy now. I got to do that since it's been coming up the last couple of Zooms. I guess I better hurry up. Okay, I better hurry up. I am a procrastinator sometimes. I really am. But things I want to do, I can do right away.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I'm the same way, so I get it. But
Mhm.
I want to just go ahead and fast forward a little bit though. So of course, after Supremes ended in '77, you then went on and embarked on a solo career after that. Of course, you talked about it in your book how you took Motown to court for the use of the name Supreme, because they didn't want you to use it. And then you guys ended up settling out of court at some point, and then you ended up having a solo deal with them. Now the album was self-titled, of course. So how did this situation work? So I want to understand from you what you think or what you know happened with that lawsuit. Was that the record deal just a way to get you to shut up and just settle, or were they really just offering you the record deal because they wanted to, in your opinion?
Well, they dropped me right after that.
Right.
So I couldn't answer the question. You probably did a good job of stating how things were. I don't know. They dropped me, and again, when Florence was dropped, it was quietly done. You know what I mean?
Right.
It
Right.
was very quietly done, but it was okay because I knew Barry Gordy was the one who really um, saw in us something, or he saw in Diane and saw in us, whatever, I don't know what. He was the one that made it happen for us. And so after he came to LA, Hollywood, and they started in the film business, there was no one else who was really, really up in terms of helping the groups become whoever they should become. And so I think that
Right.
happened to us. And then after, there was no longer Supreme, and then it was just me. They probably definitely didn't see anything. In fact, the songs I recorded were songs that Gus Dudgeon
Yes.
recorded on me in England. And so that's when when we came back, when we and my husband and all came back from England, and they had the songs that Gus Dudgeon had recorded on me. They said, well, we can't use this kind of music, and so that's when they dropped me from that music.
Mm.
But one thing I got out of that was that I own the music, so I can
Oh,
put
okay.
it out anytime I want. So anyway, hopefully I can talk with Universal now, because we're in a good relationship now with Universal, who runs Motown catalog and all.
Right.
And so I'm hoping that I will be able to work out something where I can release that music, because they can release it, I can release it, but I can do it there. And
Right.
hopefully some of the songs that you mentioned, Come and Get These Memories, and all the songs I recorded and Mary Wilson put out, because they put out other albums on Supremes in the '70s and all that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping that maybe we can kind of do that, release some of those songs, the Gus Dudgeon,
Yeah.
some of the other songs that I've done. I've done some Elizabeth Warren songs that I'm really proud of. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'm hoping to work out something with them, and next week that's where I'll start calling them and say, okay, can we do something to get me recording, releasing some of the recordings that I've done.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that would be awesome because
Yeah.
a lot of people still want to hear those records, but they're only on vinyl, and so things like that prohibit you sometimes.
Hmm.
Or even getting them released on iTunes or things like that would be awesome.
Yeah. So
Um,
that's kind of what I'm looking towards doing now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
That'll be awesome. I'm glad you said that though, because I was getting ready to ask that. So you already was reading my mind. But of course, that was your first solo album. Like you said, Motown dropped you, and then you continued on with your career. And then in '92, I believe it was, you got a new recording contract with CEO Records, I think it was,
Mhm.
with Walk the Line.
Mhm. Mhm.
I thought Walk the Line was a wonderful brand new start for you.
Mhm.
It seemed and Walk the Line, when you came out and you did that performance on Arsenio and you walked in the audience and all those people, it was just something special about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what happened in that situation?
Mhm.
Well, I don't. What didn't work? Let's say
Well,
put it like that.
throughout that time, I was actually trying to still be in the recording industry, and what was happening was everything was changing. I mean, recording
Right,
industry was changing. The record companies were selling out. They were going to one company was buying out all the companies. You know what I mean? It was like the
right,
record business was like dissolving that we knew.
yeah,
So the thing about it is. I kept trying to get a record deal, and this one with the one you talked about with Walk the Line folded because they were a bunch of crooks, and so. But they recorded great. I mean, it was that end of it was all great. But then once the record was released, I guess I don't know what happened. The company just went that way.
yeah.
And then I recorded with a company in I think it was 80 West. I think they were in New York. We did the record "You," which I love. That was kind of
Yeah,
more
I love that
hip
song too.
hop kind of thing. And so something happened there. I mean, but it was just not. It just wasn't happening for me recording wise. And then I recorded some things in England with this. I won't mention any names, but a couple of nice things, But and this guy was actually recording a lot of Motown artists. That's what it was.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking
And
about. That's
and
where you
and but the
recorded.
thing is that they were recording the artists, but they weren't doing anything with it. So these music is still being played. It's still honestly
Yeah,
being played. None of us have been paid on it, and so I just kind of like whatever. And he's kind of bad mouthed me a lot, so I just kind of dropped that. So I mean, what I'm trying to say is I really tried to get into the recording industry, but it just didn't happen for me, even though I did a lot of things. And excuse me. And the thing about this is that a lot of fans have all these recordings, and they put out their own CDs of it. So
yeah.
I've done. So you can hear some of the things out. Oh, anyway, there you go.
Yeah,
Talk about being ripped off. Live has
exactly.
been ripped off. The name Supremes have been ripped off. In fact, I should talk about that. I have a couple of legislations that I've done.
Yes,
And then
I want to talk
then I'm
about that.
going to
Yeah.
have to get out. It's almost two. A couple of one is called the Music Modernization Act. That
Okay.
was just it was passed, and I'm very happy about that because that's going to help a lot of musicians and singers and whatever. And the latest thing is that our Truth in Music legislation, which has to do with I mentioned people ripping off famous names of groups and using
Hmm.
them uh, the Truth in Music is called, was just passed in Hawaii. So now
Okay.
we're getting really close to getting that passed in the federal courts, which
Oh,
would stop all
wonderful.
these fake groups from using names that, because a lot of people, say people who were in these groups, then they come out and they put out their websites. But what they do is they put all of the everything that the original group did, and
Hmm.
that's not right. They to me they should not do that. They should put out just what they're doing. That's
Right.
fine, but not what the original group did because that's not theirs. They didn't do that. So
Yeah.
I'm still trying to work on that truth and music deal. I spoke with Otis Williams of the Temptations quite some time ago, and I said, pretty soon there are going to be loads of Temptation groups out there too.
That's right. No, but
So
that's great because and like you said, that was something that was very big before. And I remember even seeing a interview with Gladys Horton before she passed. She was fighting something like that because
yeah,
groups were going out and traveling with the name Marvelette. So that's
yeah,
absolutely important.
it's all part of it. We were all, doing part of that piece of legislation. So,
Yeah.
hopefully we can do something about it because I think it's like Coca-Cola. If someone came out with another bottle of type of Coca-Cola and using that Coca-Cola, they'd be put in jail.
Exactly.
Okay, but the people using our music and saying, "Oh, we recorded this or this was recorded in 1955." Well, they weren't even alive in 1955.
Exactly.
And there is this, what you call it, the identity theft. It's just that same kind of thing.
Yeah, it is.
Musicians and singers, they don't think it's important to us. It's our lives, of course. We were the ones who dared to dream. Okay, Tony, I got to get going now.
Okay, I know it's been a while, but no. I thank you so much, though. I want to call you Aunt Mary because you are really lovely.
That's what Florence's daughters call me, Aunt Mary. Auntie Mary.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they do that.
Okay. Well, I'm going from now on. You Aunt Mary for me.
Okay. Now, when is this on so I can let my people know?
It's going to be on YouTube. It's recorded right now, so I'll post it this coming Sunday.
Okay, cool. All right, because I like to let
this coming Sunday. Okay. Yeah. So I of course you'll have to come back and we'll have to do this again because I definitely enjoyed you. And just before you go, let everybody know where they can find you on your social media and your website.
Well, first I have a new website coming on. And it'll be marywilson.com. I don't know where, but it's coming out very soon after, right? And then I have the Mary Wilson YouTube channel. They can find that out there on YouTube. And,
okay.
And then, of course, let me see, what else? YouTube, website, and my social media, of course, I'm on Twitter and I'm on Facebook and all those kind of things. So they can just look me up. Because I wouldn't know how to tell you to find me because I can't even find me.
Okay. I think it's M. Wilson Supreme. I think it is.
That's one. Yes, that's one.
Yeah. So if it's not that, just make sure you look her up. But I do thank you again, Aunt Mary. And like I said, we have to do this again soon. Of course, you got Supreme Glamour out, so people go out and purchase that as well.
Right.
And
I think letters for the stamp. I still need to have people sending letters to the U.S. Stamp Department in Washington, D.C.
Okay. And do you have a website for that, or do they have the address?
I have it, but let me see, here it is. Where am I? Oh, you can't see it. Oh. Why can't you see that? Oh, there you go.
Okay.
I'm going to put it where you can see it. Can you see that? No, you can't see it.
It's blurry still.
Can't see it. So I tell you what I can do. I have your phone number. I'll have your phone number. I'll see if I can text it to you.
Yeah. Just text it to me, then I'll put it up as well underneath so people will know. But that's how we'll do it. No worries. But okay, wonderful. Well, like I said, I thank you again, and you look so awesome, and thank you for spending some time with me. And I'll see you soon, and you enjoy the rest of your day. Okay.
All right, you too. Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Okay.